Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are here for the first time, my name is Tracy and I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist in private practice. And today's video is to spread some awareness and some knowledge about EMDR therapy. And there are a lot of people, I think, that when they hear about EMDR therapy, they're like, wow, that sounds intense, right? Maybe they researched it and learned that you have to sit in some of the emotions that are linked to those painful memories that they have lived through, right? You might think, why would I want to live through that again? I already lived through it the first time. It was terrible. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to feel the feels. Well, our physical body records all of our experiences, the good ones, the bad ones, and the emotions that are linked to each of those categories, for example. And so with EMDR therapy, we do a lot of preparation work. There are 8 phases of EMDR, and in phase 2, it's the positive resourcing phase. And that is where we establish that safety net. So we use positive resourcing. What is a positive resource? So people, places, things, activities, anything that generates those positive emotions. So for example, I might say to a client, can you think of a place or a person historically when you've been around them, it just brings good feelings? Maybe it was that teacher in 2nd grade. Or maybe it was that old dentist that you had that when you saw them, you just felt like you were, being taken care of, and it just felt good to be around that person. Or maybe you had that accomplishment where you passed that exam, and the feelings are still in the memory bank. So what we do is we have the client close their eyes and think of that resource, like that favorite person or friend that they had, and think about the emotions that go with it. Because when we have that person think of that resource, it can help shift their emotional state. Why is that important? Well, if the client is sitting in a memory that's not a good memory, and it's starting to bring up some of those negative emotions, if the client is getting out of their window of tolerance, then the client is not able to effectively process and digest and metabolize the memories and the emotional charge. So it would be ineffective. So if the client is starting to get out of their window, we can pause the negative processing of the emotions and have them think of that positive resource, right? We can say, okay, let's pause that material here, and let's just go to that place. Remember that park that you used to go to when you were a little kid, and it was just fun and there was no care in the world, for example. And the client will start to relive that memory and feel the good feels that go with that. And therefore it helps calm that nervous system to get them back into the body being more regulated. So it is a case-by-case situation. So we could have a client that is in phase 2 for months. Maybe they have such a complex history of trauma and dissociation, which is also very, very common when we're working with someone with complex PTSD. And we want to make sure we can build up the client's ability to process the not so good material. And sometimes we're there for a month, sometimes we're there for a few months, but a good skilled therapist will know the steps to take, in terms of there's so many interventions that we can use to help the client stay in that window of tolerance. And a therapist who's certified in EMDR has done extensive consultations. They have extensive training, and it's just good if you have really complex stuff. Now, for like those single incidences, like a car accident, No shade to the new EMDR therapist, and the only way to learn is to practice. So a single incident situation, you probably would be fine with a therapist who has not quite gotten to the level of certification. But EMDR is a very powerful treatment. And if it is, you want to make sure you're working with a therapist that basically knows what they're doing. You could ask them questions like, how many cases, or how long have you been using EMDR? And are you certified? Those are good questions to ask. And the other piece I wanted to mention is dissociation. So most people, in my experience, clients that I've worked with, don't really know that they're dealing with clinical dissociation. Things like looking in the mirror and suddenly not being able to recognize yourself, or objects around you seem strange, like they're morphing in shape, or they seem farther away, or the world feels foggy. Are you not sure if you just dreamt of something happened or did it really happen? Those are some examples of dissociation. And so if you find a therapist who's trained and certified in EMDR, chances are they have had some experience and training with dissociation, because dissociative symptoms are very common, very, very common. And I don't think it's talked about in society enough. So just as a recap, if you're thinking of doing EMDR therapy, it is really such a powerful, really cool treatment. And do your research in picking a provider, and just know that there is a preparation phase, right? Because what's most important is keeping the client in that window of tolerance. That is number one. I hope you found this video interesting. If you have any other questions about EMDR, drop a comment. I'd be happy to reply. Have a great day.